Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Salah Satu Nikmah and I want to explain about word Englishes. Word Englishes issues in Singapore, Hong Kong and Tokyo in the English cloud. Before I explain about Singapore, Hong Kong and Tokyo in the English cloud, I want to introduce about word Englishes. So what is word Englishes? Word Englishes means that the different forms and varieties of English used in various sociolinguistic contexts in the different parts of the world. We have to use the English studies approach. The English studies approach to word Englishes has developed historically from the description of English tradition, which dates back at least to the late 19th century. It focused on the analysis of varieties of English form and synchronic and historical perspective against a tradition of English studies dating from the late 19th century. Sociolinguistic approaches. Sociology of language is focused on English research in relation to such issues as language maintenance or shift, and ethnolinguistic identify. Features-based is focused on the description of English through dialectological and variationist methodologies. Applied linguistic approaches. Applied linguistics is an interdisciplinary field which identifies, investigates, and offers solutions to language-related real-life problems. Some of the academic fields related to applied linguistics are education, psychology, communication research, anthropology, communication research, anthropology, and sociology. Lexicographical approaches. Dictionaries are profoundly important for the recognition of word Englishes. As Quirk 1919 has pointed out, it is only when a word variety of English is supported by codification that one can make a strong claim that such a variety is institutionalized. The popularizers' approaches. The best known of these was perhaps McCran and McNeil's The Story of English, which was accompanied by the worldwide broadcast of a 9-part BBC documentary of the history of the English language. Critical approaches. At the core of Philipson's theoretical approach to linguistic imperialism are a series of arguments about the political relation between what Philipson characterized as the core English-speaking countries. The futurology approaches. Okay, that's all about word Englishes. To understand about word Englishes. For right now, I want to explain about word Englishes in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Tokyo by Beyond Three Circles, or we call the English cloud. This additional category recognizes the pervasive nature of global English spread, acknowledging that linguistic influence moves both ways from and back to in the inner circle. These two ways influence in simply recognition of the fact that as immigrants enter inner circle countries, they influence and change the non-providing English they learn to speak. With continuing cycles, inner circle, English can be modified by outer circle and expanding circle English speakers. That is to say, all the three of Kahru circles are part of the code or in the English code, and they influence the code in many ways, even as they are influenced by the cloud in the other ways. Criteria for inclusion in the expanding circle. In figure 2, after the names of countries that might be placed in the English code, the qualifying phrase all open the debate indicates uncertainty of placement. Difference sometimes very large. In English, ability are not difficult to perceive, but establishing a threshold is not a simple task. One example would be Norway and Japan. According to Koch model, but countries fit into the expanding circle. Yet the difference in English communicative ability are glaringly obvious. Some linguists fear Norway is in danger of losing Norwegian, its mother tongue, because of increasing facility in English. While in Japan, some linguists fear Japanese will never learn, or should not learn, or even are incapable of learning English well enough to communicate on the global English stage. It seems ridiculous to place both countries in the same category. Reasonable and clear criteria for inclusion in the expanding circle are missing. In the category is to have any practical utility, there must be valid criteria for entry. Regions that do not meet the criteria may be in the English code, but the border is permeable. Movement between the expanding circle and the English code is possible at any time the door is open. Okay, the position that Japan does not qualify for inclusion in the expanding circle. That Japan doesn't satisfy the essential authenticity criteria in figure 3 above. This topic required deeper study, but a comparison between three regions with the significant exposure to English might provide initial points of discussion. Singapore, an undisputed member of the outer circle, serves as a baseline. Hong Kong, transformed under 115 years of direct British rule from a fishing village to a thriving global business hub in a generally placed in the expanding circle. Tokyo, the city in Japan with a comparative size, function and social influence, will represent Japan, which is for lack of any other option in Kahru 3 circles model, also placed in the expanding circle. Both Singapore and Hong Kong should qualify in all three authenticity criteria. with Singapore moving into the outer circle by reason of deeper historical, educational, and social history in English context. If the three circles and English code model provides a useful degree of differentiation, Tokyo should not qualify leaving it in the English code. Now I want to explain about three city comparison, three circles, and English code model. The three cities, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, are distinct in many aspects, but three common historical factors permit meaningful comparison. 1. English contact. More than 60 years of uninterrupted English influence, language, social, culture, and legal framework since the end of WW2. Number 2 is root culture. Significant influence of Chinese culture in each city. Written language, written language, traditional culture, legal and educational structure. Number 3 is international commerce. Business gateways to the surrounding region, with the consequent international mix of ideas and language, custom and perspective travelers and residents. And the TOEFL achievements ranking for these three cities correlates with the demographic categories. Without claiming causal relationship, it is apparent that higher numbers of both non-citizens and official language correlate with higher TOEFL achievement. Singapore ranked at the top of the Asian table, demonstrates strength that would be expected of an outer circle member. Hong Kong, ranking in the middle both within Asia and globally, fit the definition of a region where English is used for specific purposes, has achieved a degree of natification and is progressing toward public recognition. Tokyo, unfortunately, does not have a spirit TOEFL ranking. Reliability of comparison suffers from the simple fact that Singapore and Hong Kong are city-state, while Tokyo is one city in a much larger nation. However, that a GTA Greater Tokyo area does contain nearly 20% of the entire population of Japan and is a top study and career destination for Japanese from all over the country. In that sense, Tokyo is representative of Japan, which ranks at or near the bottom, both within Asia and globally in all categories. Another area that might yield interesting insight in the relationship between GDP and the education budget of each city. The city of Tokyo has a GDP which is double that of Singapore and Hong Kong combined, and Tokyo allocates 10% more to education than either of the other cities. It is not possible here to determine how much of the education budget is allocated to English, but it seems that Tokyo and Japan as a country is learning a very low return on investment in relation to successful communicative English acquisition. The conclusion of all of the explanation is three circles of English, a breakthrough 25 years ago for visualizing the global spread of English, is the data model. Since 1985, the world has changed in political, social, and economic ways that could never have imagined, and these changes have affected the speed of movement, the practical application, and the social impact of global English. Expanding circle, overcrowded and under differentiated, retains limited practical utility in its present form. To modification defining clear criteria for inclusion in the expanding circle and creating the English code as a lower fluency category are proposed in order to spur discussion and perhaps provide a different perspective to analyze the phenomenon of word English. The growth of Asian English is intertwined with Asia's growing economic power. Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, international economic centers and cities at the intersection of Western and Asian culture, provide a window in the development of Asian English. Tokyo, representing a country with abysmal English communicative ability but also with the third largest economic in the world, is perhaps a proof that many hears all language or at least base required translation. But the millions of Japanese students who spend billions of yen each year on English lessons should be asking questions about a return on investment. Our resources, both human and economic, being disabled in English achievement levels remain among the worst in the world. Both Singapore and Hong Kong have a deeper, larger social relationship with English, yet face the reality that other Asian countries with much larger education budgets, China and Korea being two foremost examples, are pouring resources into English education, making English communicative ability a policy goal. Given that English is a global language for at least the near future, is it fair to say that we all give into English code, education, expert create policy? Government minister found policy and teachers apply policy. Policy is successfully transformed into practice. Students acquire English, not just knowledge of English, but ability to communicate in English. If policy is not transformed successfully into practice, the English code becomes an English folk. A cloud provides life-giving water before giving way to sunshine, while folk present a heavy cloak of haze and chill uncertainty. If Japan is now in the English code, what is the transformative power that will enable the earnest learners to be through the communicative sunshine? That's all for me. I hope you enjoy about my explanation and clear about the explanation. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.